What's up guys? Today I wanted to go over a build I've been using in V Rising. I'm calling this the Illusion Warrior build because it uses illusion spells and warrior blood. So there's a lot of melee damage in this build, and resetting melee cooldowns and juking people out. It's a lot of fun to play, so let's get into it. So this is actually going to be a mace and axe build. You're going to want to be running warrior blood with Nightstone of the Beast with this build to just pump up your physical power and physical crit chance stats as much as you possibly can. When running Mistrance, you're not going to be benefiting from spell power from one of your abilities, so you really don't want to be running Scholar because this will reset if you successfully block a projectile or melee attack. This will actually reset the cooldown of your Crushing Blow, which is Q. Or any Q. So you could use Frenzy as well, but I recommend Crushing Blow. In the most recent change, or hotfix, or small update rather, the Mace actually got a very significant buff, where your Crushing Blow deals 40% more physical damage than it did previously. And other spells such as Chaos Volley, which everyone and their mother has been running, got a semi-significant nerf to it. Not very much, people are still using it, but it's just not as strong as it was, so it makes melee a little bit more viable. With this build, you're going to want to run Veil of Illusion, Purgatory, Mistrance, although you could swap this out for some other options, which I'll go over soon, and Mirror Strike, which you could also swap out for one other option. The only self-sustain you really have is Purgatory, so that's another reason you want to be using Warrior Blood and Mistrance. Now, Warrior Blood actually at the 4th tier has an insane ability, which is Parry. You have a 15% chance to parry an attack, reducing damage taken by 50% on that attack. Parrying an attack increases your own damage by 25%. Now that buff lasts for around 3 to 4 seconds, so it's really easy to get value off of. And this will proc all the time. This procs off of damage over time effects. It can even proc off of sunlight damage. Any form of damage in the game, even just debuffs on you, like hamstring slows, can proc the parry effect. It doesn't even need to be a damaging attack. So you'll be proccing this all the time and reducing the damage you take on spells and abilities by 50%. So there's a lot of sustain right there. The other sustain you have, of course, is Purgatory. Purgatory is a very versatile spell. You could use it to full heal yourself if you place it on yourself and get both ticks. You could place it on the ground and then Crushing Blow into it to get the second tick while snaring your enemy. You could also just use it fully for baiting someone into walking into an X strike, for example, or even Mirror Strike or a different ability. Now, what I mean by that is people will freak out quite a bit when there's a spell placed on the ground at their feet. They'll either use their dash to get out of it, even if it's a very low damaging ability like Purgatory, which is only 75%, or they'll just try to walk out of it. They don't want to stand in that AoE effect, so it makes people really predictable, and you can capitalize on that. For example, you could place Purgatory down and then X strike wherever they're choosing to exit the AoE effect, and then while they're incapped, you can just walk up and Crushing Blow them. Now that little combo, if you ignore the Purgatory damage of 75%, you're dealing 310% physical damage from the X strike and Crushing Blow combo. So I'll just run over that one more time. Just like that. Purgatory into X strike into Crushing Blow. Now, once you're at that stage, and that's your sort of bread butter combo right there. But once you're at that stage, you have a couple options. You could Veil of Illusion back if it's a sketchy situation over there. Say there's multiple people that have started casting on you and you want to get out of there. You could Veil of Illusion out of the danger, and then your summoned spectral, guardian, the illusion, will actually throw projectiles that deal 40% magical damage. The other option you have is to play aggressive with Veil of Illusion. So Veil of Illusion will actually throw 2 projectiles and then disappear. But if you recast Veil of Illusion, it'll summon another one that will also summon 2 more. So you have 4 bolts of 40% magic damage if you're using Veil of Illusion to its highest capacity. So this Veil will be casting bolts on them. 1, 2, and at the very end you recast it, and this guy will also send 2 bolts. So that's another 160% magic damage if it hits all 4, and they're pretty accurate. Now I'm going to talk about some variations on the build. The only 2 abilities I would recommend playing with in this build are Mistrance and Mirror Strike. Now, the only real recommendation I can make instead of Mirror Strike would be Heart Strike. Now, the reason I would use Heart Strike in this build instead of Mirror Strike is because of the sustain that it gives you. 150% heal over 3.5 seconds. Even though you're not running a spell power build, 150% is still quite a bit. It's like 60 health. And if you take into account the 25% health reduction in PvP, max health reduction, that's almost the entirety of that bar. It also will deal 300% guaranteed damage if you land it, as opposed to Mirror Strike, which has a couple issues with it. One being it hits terrain and splits the damage quite a bit, so you could lose out on quite a bit of damage. The other problem with Mirror Strike is people can just walk out of it, dash out of it. It's a long cast time in terms of, once you actually hit the dash, you're just kind of standing there for a couple seconds, like 3 seconds, and there's not much you could do. You could recast it and leave it, but then you're missing out on the damage. So Heart Strike you could incorporate into your basic bread and butter combo with Purgatory, X Strike, and then you would just Heart Strike right after. For abilities you could switch from Mistrance, I actually have quite a few recommendations. Let's start with the Unholy Tree. You could run Corpse Explosion. Corpse Explosion actually got a recent buff as well, where it deals more damage, 140%, which is very significant for a ground place attack, and it snares for 1.5 seconds. So this ability will give you another ground targeted ability for you to bait your X Strike with or your Crushing Blow, and it snares people. So if someone's running away from you, you could Purgatory, snare them, and then place a Corpse Explosion all the way past, so they're snared while running away, and then they'll hit the Corpse Explosion, which has a higher cast time, and get the 1.5 second snare, so you can catch up really easily. Another ability I can recommend would be Wisp Dance. Now, Wisp Dance really plays into the hyper-aggressive playstyle of this build, because you can just place it on yourself and then charge in to melee, and your Wisp Dance, you don't even have to think about it. It's just going to be dealing 25% magic damage to anyone who wants to challenge you in melee, or who can't escape. And if people do escape, Crushing Blow, and they do escape, you can just recast it, and then they're going to be dealing 30% less damage, and they're going to be taking 120% of your magic damage. The last spell I'd recommend to swap out for Mistrance would be Chaos Barrier. Now, Chaos Barrier is really, really strong for melee classes, actually, or melee builds. There's 2 really main reasons for that. Chaos Barrier, when you successfully block an attack, will actually pull people towards your location. So it's really good for staying on target and, you know, catching up to people. There's a lot of people that like spamming Chaos Volley in this game, or Frostbat is now another popular one, and Crystal Lance. So barrier abilities are really, really strong because of how telegraphed projectile spells are in this game. The second reason is because there's a little glitch going on. I don't know if it's a glitch, but maybe it's a feature. But if you frenzy and then barrier immediately, it gives you an extra dash. So that's just with frenzy. I'm getting to the first pillar. With frenzy and a barrier, you're getting another like half step from that. So you can actually jump at people super aggressively, and then you're right in melee range, and you can just wail on them with the axes or with the mace if you wanted to. So you can see in this clip right here that I had in my recent montage on this build, how aggressive you can really play with this. So I crushing blow in and then see another low target. So hot swap to my axes and X strike and just kill him. Now I'm running the variation with Wisp Dance in this clip. And you see right there a perfect example of the enemy starting to run away while I have Wisp Dance up. And then I can just deal 120% ranged magic damage to him. Now, this clip will showcase a little bit of the problem with Mirror Strike. You can see that the terrain, the trees and rocks around, actually ate a decent amount of damage. Not a lot. I think it actually reduces the damage it takes from terrain. So most of the damage goes to players, but it is an amount. So you're not really getting the 600%. You're getting something like 500 or 400. And of course, people can just leave. Now, in this clip, I'm running the Mistrance variation of the build. So you can see I just block an Ice Bat and then immediately get my free engage. The Mistrance goes really, really far, actually. So you'll see here in a second, when you're meleeing someone, which you're going to be doing a lot with Warrior Blood, you can't quite keep up with people if they're just running away. So right here I Mistrance and land behind him with my cursor, and that way I can stay on him and just keep meleeing. Now right there is a great example of the Veil of Illusion being my favorite veil for this build, because as you can see, let's just go back in the video. As you can see, he throws his Chaos Volley at me, and then I just dash right back. And my Veil is actually just, throwing bolts of 40% magic damage at him, which actually adds up quite a bit. And this is just an example of how much damage one Crushing Blow can really do. I've seen Crushing Blows do upwards of 200 damage. I think you could do like 230 damage possibly with one Crushing Blow. If you have full shards, Potion of Rage, and then if you have your parry buff from Warrior, you could easily deal half someone's health in one ability. You can see right here a great example. I don't even have my parry buff from Warrior, but my first Crushing Blow deals 178 damage with crit.